We're going to look at 10 deep rookie stashes for Dynasty Fantasy Football. We're going to look at the back and the depths of ADP. Look at these rookies, see what we want to do with them, look at the advanced metrics, look at the depth charts, and see if they even have a chance to crack your Dynasty team. But before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now. We're going hard to paint. We're going deep on these rosters. We're helping you build your Dynasty teams, helping you win that money, helping you set your lineups and everything else. Click that button. Stop missing out. Let's take a look at these 10 stashes. We're deep diving today. Most of these players you're not interested in, but there might be one. So you guys stick around for the whole thing. First player we're talking about, Sione Vake, RB91, 240 ADP. And just look at the depth chart here. Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery. How is he going to crack that? Craig Reynolds, the crafty vet. When one of those guys go down, everybody's looking to Craig Reynolds. After him on the depth chart, which it's just going to be a battle here, you got Bam Knight. You got Jamar Jefferson. Good running backs between the tackles. I see him being a fluid player. Could switch back to DB. But they spent a mid-round pick on him. They probably could have drafted somebody else. But a lot of people are pushing that button on Vake because of the draft capital. The upside there due to that. But when you look at this depth chart, it's going to be a battle at the running back position. It's going to be hard to want to lean on him. Wasn't like he was super productive. Look at his dominator rating, 0%. Yards per carry, 0. Like, they have nothing on him. There was not much to his name there at the running back position. Also, at DB as well. He's not a player you're really going to go after, but the draft capital's there. The draft capital's there. You may want to chase that just in case. But you're looking at Johnny Wilson here. After him, wide receiver 119. And the reason why we're stashing Johnny Wilson, and I'm actually excited for him. One, I like his profile. I like the college dominator rating. I like how he was using the offense. But the chances that he gets switched over to tight end is very good. Look at the size here, 6'6". He's got some length. Where would he play at well? Where could he really make an impact? And if he made that switch and over some time with some development, could he be a fantasy asset? That'd be at tight end. If we got the athleticism for that, we got the speed score. I like Johnny Wilson in those regards over the long term, and he's free at ADP 240. Over 20 rounds of players drafted, and you can still get him. Bub means. And you just look at the Orleans Saints, they push the ball downfield, and it's an ambiguous depth chart behind Chris Olave. We like Rashid Shaheed. I like him a lot. I like A.T. Perry. But again, the season's the season. These players come up and down. On top of that, the injuries. Bub Means has a good athletic profile. Popped with a little bit of production here. And he could be in a spot here with a good training camp. Could be a riser too going into the season. He's cheap. He's free. He's at wide receiver 118 ADP. You can catch him late. You can catch him free in rookie drafts. Dylan Johnson, RB89, ADP 239. And with this depth chart, Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears. And then after that, it's very ambiguous. It's very ambiguous. What we like about Dylan Johnson, he catches balls out of the backfield. He can be highly productive as a receiving back, but also has the size to cram it between the tackles. Could end up being the RB3. You're watching him during training camp. Could climb the depth charts. Again, there's no draft capital with this guy, so there's no sunk cost. He's going to be scraping against these running backs. It's the Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears show until one of them gets hurt. And you know how running backs are. It's a fragility game, and you want to stash up the running backs. Dylan Johnson might be a guy you want to look at considering catch passes out of the backfield, highly productive, doing that out of college. But it's an interesting case due to no draft capital, due to him being behind two good running backs. And then on top of that, we got to climb the depth chart. Ryan Flournoy with the Cowboys here. And the depth chart here, very interesting. They did not bring in any wide receivers of consequence. After Michael Gallup left, we got CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, Jalen Tolbert in front of him. Then after that, super ambiguous. He's got to have a good training camp. He's got to pop off early in his career. We got good size adjusted athleticism. We're a small school prospect. Looked good at the Senior Bowl. And he's a guy that could climb the depth chart. You really don't want your stashes at wide receiver. I don't. I like to stash the running backs. But you look at this depth chart, and you know how the wide receiver position works. You know how injuries work throughout the season. You know how this depth chart's been looking at wide receiver here. Might be a player that surprises you down the line, maybe not. But Eric All, tight end 41. We got an Iowa tight end going to the Bengals, and nobody's excited about that. But he's going ADP 238 off the board. Over 20 rounds of players drafted, 40 tight ends drafted on average. And you're looking at this young tight end, a very ambiguous tight end depth chart. You got Mike Gesicki there, that veteran with some draft capital who's been bouncing around a few teams. But you look at him, the size adjusted athleticism is okay. But we're coming from a tight end U. On top of that, we got decent draft capital in the 4th round. Could be a trendy pickup, but we do not stash too many tight ends. You get your main tight end, maybe a good backup, and you get 1 stash. 3 tight ends is a lot. 2's good, 3's okay. Once you push more than that, you're kind of tripping up yourself. Do not hoard too many tight ends, but if you can fit Eric All, if you're playing the game right, you're money balling it, try and get him. Or if you can stash him on a taxi squad, might be a cheap get considering how explosive this offense can be. Cody Schrader with the 49ers. The thing is, we're watching Isaac Rondo here on the depth chart, especially in training camp, especially with that size-adjusted athleticism. But we're going deeper than that. We're going to the depths of ADP. RB82, 236 off the board, 20-plus rounds. Productive in the SEC. We have enough size to compete at the NFL level. The back half of this depth chart, we got some jabronis. We might be able to compete for a roster spot. You're just paying attention during training camp. If you got deep rosters, maybe you're stashing, maybe you're not. Because you know Christian McCaffrey is going to be doing his thing. They got Elijah Mitchell. They got Rondo. They also got Jordan Mason. They like him a lot. After that, it's a huge wild card. Maybe he's on the practice squad. Maybe not. But Luis Reath, the team loves him. The media loves him. A guy to pay attention to. Good size adjusted athleticism there. Good speed. A rugby player. The media likes him. I'm a Monty Bailey guy. His ADP is a little higher than that. But RB81 right now in the ADP. I think 4for4 should have Monty Bailey ahead of him on the depth chart. But during minicamp, he was getting a lot of clips. They were looking at him a good bit. The media is excited about him. Maybe for the clicks. But he's a player to pay attention to because we got some size, we got some speed. Maybe. But if I'm looking at this roster, Deneric Prince is a guy I'm looking at. Paying attention to Monty Bailey in training camp. Keontae Ingram's an interesting option, but he hasn't been able to put it together. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, while we still here, it's the Isaac Pacheco show. Chase McClellan here, RB78, 234 off the board. And again, if something happens to Tyler Algier, he's probably going to be taking that role. If something happens to his backfield, he could be climbing the depth chart. He's a very efficient runner, good between the tackles. We got some size, and could be a good asset to this team on the back half of the depth chart. If you're looking to stash an RB3, this might be an RB to look at, especially if you got a taxi spot for him on your practice squad or however you call it in your league, because McClellan's on a team that's going to be moving to football. They got Kirk Cousins. They got a lot of pieces there. Something happens to Bijan or Tyler Algier, I look for him to be the RB3 after training camp. I look for him to make the roster. Pay attention to him. See what's happening with him on the roster if you got room to stash an RB3 on any team. Blake Watson, another player to pay attention to that went undrafted from Memphis. RB77, ADP 233. Another ambiguous depth chart here at the running back position. Javonte Williams may not be there for the long term. Samaje Perine definitely is not there. Jaleel McLaughlin's a player we're drafting up as a late round option there. Looks good catching balls out of the backfield. Very explosive. They drafted Audric Esme, but it was late. But he's a pounder between the tackles. But then after that, say something happens with Javonte Williams and Samaje Perine for the long term, and you got McLaughlin and Esme, you're in a deep league. Blake Watson is a rookie to pay attention to. Watch him in training camp. See if he can do something. Could be a chip that could gain some steam that you can pawn off for maybe a 4th round rookie pick or something, nothing crazy. But if you're doing those micro moves, could be something. And if you're looking to stash running backs, another guy to look at, considering this is a very ambiguous backfield that he's on. But those are 10 deep Dynasty rookie stashes that we're looking at today. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. Want to thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.